on global commerce, on global banking, and on the geopolitics of the moment. Jamie Dimon, CEO and Chair of JP Morgan. Jamie, I want to start with kind of the elephant in the room this week, which is Donald Trump. People aren't really mentioning his name even. And I'm curious how much he and the election of his new administration has dominated all of your conversations over the past week.
First, I'm thrilled to be here. Beautiful room, so thank you for having me. And of course, you had a big sea change that took place in that vote the other day, and some people were prepared and some weren't prepared. But I think the most important thing is whoever had been elected, and this is my belief, they are entering and going to be responsible for the most complicated geopolitical, military, and geoeconomic situation that the world has faced since World War II. And of course, I wish them all the best. I think people try to help get through this. It could be a difficult thing with a lot of unknowns and uncertainties. And so policy is going to matter. And of course, who runs the government will be determinative there.
President-elect Donald Trump sends a message to you that he respects you greatly, but you will not be part of the Trump administration as a Treasury Secretary, if that were something that were interesting to you.
First of all, I wish the President well, and thank you. That's a very nice note. But I just want to tell the President also, I haven't had a boss for 25 years, and I'm not about ready to start.
I want to start by also talking about the response in markets in the U.S., which has very much been, this is going to be a pro-growth shock with companies that are going to be investing much more, deploying cash, aggressive in terms of U.S. expansion. Have you seen any signs that that's truly the case?
Well, yeah, you've already seen, the markets have responded quite well. And, I think America needs a growth strategy, so I literally applaud that. I think collaboration between government and business is the way to have growth. They've already spoken about a deregulatory environment. I want to point out, I'm not talking about just getting rid of regulations, but the regulatory environment in most countries has become stifling. And in a lot of countries, including Peru, it's why you're growing maybe at 2.5%, not 4 or 5. In America, it's why we've been growing at 2% for 20 years and maybe not 3. So I do think it's a reasonable thing to have that kind of reform. And that reform has to go deeper than just regulations, which can unleash capital and investment and banking and stuff like that. It's got to be permitting and all the related things that come with that, where people, you were just mentioning a mine that someone bought that could do rare earths in the United States. It's 10 years, they haven't gotten their permits yet. I mean, it's a shame, and we're doing this to ourselves, and it's a mistake. So I applaud any government that says, I'm going to make government more efficient. And I think inefficient government is one of the reasons that people are frustrated. That why you have some populism, because they may blame, they may look at big companies, but they also know their government isn't spending their money wisely.
There's been a focus on deregulation and efficiency, and there have been even a new cabinet position named after it, DOGE. But I am curious if you do expect certain regulations to be stripped back, and which ones could actually have the biggest impact on generating business?
Yeah, I do. I think they've made it absolutely clear. I think because they have the Senate, the House, and the presidency, they have far more ability to do things like that. I think last time around, President Trump had started by saying for every new regulation, 1 in, 2 out. And I think later on he said 1 in, 5 out. I think they're going to do some of that again. I think it will, the banking industry, whether you voted for Trump or Joe Biden, a lot of bankers, they're like dancing in the street because, they've had successive years and years of regulations, a lot of which stymied credit, and so and you could have kept the banks equally safe, but had them do more credit. And so to just give an example, the average bank in America, I think the number used to have $100 of deposits and $100 of loans, and now it's $100 of deposits and $65 of loans. And if that's what you want, if for some reason the regulators think they're geniuses and that's the best way to run the banking system, so be it. But I think they did a lot of things that ended in that answer, but they didn't know that was going to be the outcome. So, and I think you could talk to any industry, and they'll give you examples of regulations that could be reduced and make it easier for them to do business while keeping the country safe, while keeping the air clean, while making sure the EPA does its job, et cetera. So I applaud them. They should be looking at those things.
Do you think if there is, particularly in the banking sector, less regulation, that there will be an even steeper competition with banks getting back some of the business from private investment firms?
Probably, yeah. I mean, because if you look at, you're asking about private credit and private investment, which I'm not against, and it has grown very rapidly, and it's got pros.